So for the Traveler Sunrise sweater, I've recommended two different yarns. Both are by Lion Brand. One is the Woolies DK Cake, and the other one is the Mandala. The first sweater that I've done was in the Forever Young colorway of Woolies. Woolies does have 20% wool in it, where the Mandala is 100% acrylic. They both are DKs, size 3 categories. Both worked up very easily, very well. You can tell this has slightly wool just by how it feels, but it's not, I don't find it scratchy one bit. The only main difference that I've seen, you don't notice a strong transition line, whereas between the sharp colors, and they really quickly change the colors between the two colors. But it's really pretty, and with the stitch, it's not as noticeable. You can break it up into more colors, get a larger stitch, and also really, move this to the beginning of the row so you can weave in the ends and have distinct color stripes. But that's your choice. Both I really liked and would use again. So for this pattern, all you need to know are chains and single crochets, and it's a combination of those two stitches that create this pattern. So nothing too complicated. It's great for doing in TV because you don't have to count, a lot of shaping to see what row you are on and how many you need to count in between the rows. So you have large blocks where you just keep doing the same thing. And then a little bit of fun every now and then large blocks of doing the same. So let's get started. I'm going to make a very small sample size just to show you the stitches and kind of the different techniques that you need to know for this project. So I'm just beginning with a foundation chain, that just like you would in your pattern. So there you have your beginning chain. And all you're going to do is begin with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, chain 1, your skip 1, another single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and you repeat that to the end of the row. All right, I'm coming to the end. You single crochet in that last chain. And to begin each row, you're going to chain 2 and single crochet in that second chain from hook. And then for the pattern, basically it's a grid. So I have my single crochet that I just made, and this will go over, this next stitch will go over a single crochet from the previous row. And it's alternating. So I want to chain 1. Where I chained the row before, I went to single crochet. So I single crocheted the row before, so this row, it's the opposite, it's a chain. So it's still just like that first row, but you're working opposites from the row before. So single crochet, chain 1, you skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, and I'm just going all the way around that chain, not working it into it. Really easy. And you go all the way to the end of the row. All right, and then you're going to single crochet in that last chain. Cat fur. But I still have one single crochet from the previous row. Well, that's where your chain 2, how we begin each row, we'll turn. And in the second chain from the hook, you work a single crochet. So that is my single crochet, your chain 1, and the single crochet way down below. So that's 3 rows, single crochet, chain, single crochet, but they're just not hooked. And that, it's a little odd to work with at the beginning because you're so used to having it all connected in one straight square, but that is how it goes. And then whenever you sew your sweater together and you add your band, it all works out. It sews it all together and you don't even notice it. So you just keep on repeating those rows back and forth for a set number of rows for your size. And then eventually you'll get to where it says about your neck shaping. And it will tell you to work until so many chains spaces are left open. So I'm going to work for this example till 2 chain spaces are left open. So as you get to the end, you can start really counting. There's your first chain towards the end of the row, and the second chain, so I need to make 1 more. And then you chain 2, single crochet in that second stitch. Chain 1. There's my first chain space, and you keep that single crochet chain pattern all the way through. And you can see how that made your decrease for your neckline. So you keep working those rows. This is a normal row that you've done for your shoulder by this time, all the way to the end. And I will tell you to repeat the decreases in the normal rows. Depending on your size, it'll adjust, and you may have more decrease, the number of decreases or the amount of decrease rows will change. But it's all the same technique. And then you've gotten all the way down. You've done that a couple times. And now it will tell you to increase. And all that will be is that you work a normal row back to the top of the neckline. So let's say this is how far I'm going to go for my neckline. And now it's telling me that I'm where I need to start increasing to go back up for your other side of your neck. So you work to the end of the row just like you would, but instead of saying to chain 2 and turn to make it even, you're going to add X number of stitches. And then in the second chain from hook, you chain or single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet. Now I'm back to that last single crochet of the previous row, so I'm going to chain over it and single crochet into that next chain. And that is how you've increased. So earlier I made a different little sample that will show you. So here's where I started, and I worked normal rows. I stopped, leaving 2 chains unworked. Oh, actually, I only left 1 chain. I stopped, leaving 1 chain unworked on this sample. I repeated my flat rows. I increased, and then you continue your straight rows for your other side of the sweater. The sleeve is exactly the same way. You do start at the top of the sleeve by your shoulder, and then you will alternate decreases as you go down, alternating rows, so that it doesn't just go straight on one side of the sleeve and decrease on one. So you got to alternate. It is a little zigzagged, but whenever you sew it together, they fit right nice together. Now, once you finish, one of the things that took me a while to figure out was seaming. A lot of it is based on your preference, but what I found out worked best is going through just like you would on the pattern. I'll do this opposite. Instead of chain edges to chain edges, I'll do one chain edge to one of your ending edges. Go through the first chain openings of each one, and it's a repeat of your pattern, but just going through. So there, I went ahead and finished seaming up that side. From a distance, whenever you get a nice color match, that will really disappear into your sweater. On your sweater, at your shoulder line, you will be seaming tabs to tabs. The best way that I've found to do this is go down one hook size, and you will just slip stitch go through one side of each tab on each panel, make one slip stitch, make another slip stitch, and then just go straight to the next side. Make another 2 slip stitches in that tab. And I am trying to go into the top 2 loops on each of the tabs and be consistent on where I place them. That just makes sure that whenever you turn it around, you'll see your seaming. It looks as even as possible as you go along. If you used one of these colors, it really does blend in, but that was the best method that I found. And if you really make those slip stitches tight, that's what I found. And you can see on my sweater, I even have a slight variation. But with all the colors in your pattern, in your sweater, with this yarn color especially, they're really muted. Very subtle tonal shifts compared to the mandala that I'm working with currently. So, but the next thing that you will need to do, besides sewing everything up, is taking care of these little tabs. These would be around your neck edge and also around the sweater bottom, around your waistline. You can leave them unfinished. It's a nice little picot edge, but around the neckline, you really do start getting the jagged edges for the decreases. So I like to finish it off, and it's called for in the pattern. And all I did, and this was the easiest way I could find, the most cleanest version to get a single crochet around, is drop down to a smaller size hook, one more size. So for the body, I used J to get the gauge. I'd go down one size down, so that's the I, and that is because instead of working stitches into stitches, we are now working stitches into rows. And our stitches are wider than our rows, so going down a hook size will make these new stitches a little bit smaller and line up with the row size a little bit better. And all I did was in each of these tabs, I would make 2 single crochets right at the top. On some of your tabs, they almost look like they have little ears, or at least how I make my stitches. They have 2 little ears, and I would make a single crochet, 1 single crochet in each of those ears. And that was just so I knew how many I did, and they would be in a similar location on each of the tab and look very uniform as you go across your sweater band. And there you can see how it's already starting to pull those tabs together. It is a little bit harder to get that your hook into some of them. Helps to have a fingernail to help pull that first loop on. Having a smaller size hook does help. And then whenever you come to your seam, so there's my seam, you just skip to the next closest tab and pull it together. All right, here's where I would be at an increase, let's say around the neck edge. I don't want to go all the way down because that would pucker. So I'm going to skip that 1 stitch and go into the next. Now since this is a row, I would go ahead and do a single crochet in each of those chains. And working back up to the next tab. And that is how you would begin your waistband and your neck edge. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoy your garment as much as I do. Please be sure to like this video and be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on another great pattern from City Farmhouse Studio. Thanks. Bye.